Would you ever eat government vaccines? Feed your family hormones or antibiotics? Never ever do that to your family. So why buy beef the same way you've always bought beef? You're buying meat glue bonded, hormone filled, antibiotic riddled grocery store meat. Say no to supermarket medicated Franken meats and say hello to nevereverbeef.club. Always 100% USDA prime or high choice. That's restaurant grade. Never Ever is not ever just select beef or even standard or ungraded store branded meat. It's simply the very best cut and tasting steak you have ever had. We have never ever given our herd hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never ever. Pure blood genetics. We've raised our herds this way for over 30 generations. They simply have never, ever had antibiotics, hormones, or killer vaccines. Grass-fed the way nature intended, in almost 500,000 acres of high pasture environments. Finished off with non-modified feed crops we grow ourselves. We even own our own 210,000 square foot processing plant. And as an added bonus for our nevereverbeef.club members, we age our steaks in our state-of-the-art 780,000 cubic foot aging facility. Only top restaurants do that, so they can charge you $100 or more for a little bitty steak. We age our meat because we want you to have the very best restaurant quality USDA prime or high choice, pure blood, purebred beef at a price your family can afford in these financially challenging times. Sure, you can keep paying the price for supermarket cheap, standard, and ungraded store meat brands if you love feeding your family Franken meat. So never ever settle for less. Join our nevereverbeef.club. Take control of your health and your family food supply right now. Join nevereverbeef.club. We are real people with real families just like you. So we personally customize your order right over the phone. Now that's customer service. And there is absolutely no obligation when we call. You decide what bundle is best for your needs. No hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never had them and never ever will. Never ever cut corners on your food supply or family's health. Join nevereverbeef.club now.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Listen, I know you're hearing a lot about President Trump. I think some people, honestly, I can see it in my chat, becoming a little bit disenchanted with President Trump. But you got to ask yourself, does the president really run the country? Good question. Talking about running the country, we're right in the middle of this shutdown. I want to give you the historical perspective on the shutdown. So maybe you understand what's going on. And by the way, before you shut down on everything and just said, I'm tired of it, screw it, to hell with it, I don't want anything to do with it. So we're going to deal with this shutdown, showdown, right? Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Would you please consider going to jovanlovesgold.com? Because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. Just request your free gold and silver kit today. It is. Get it, understand what's going on, etc. Times are changing. They're going to change fast. They're going to, well, manipulate us with money in the wrong way. Especially if you have a retirement account, savings account, 401k, etc. Please, 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 please. Just get your brain fed. By the way, you might even qualify to get $10,000, depending upon the type of account you set up. Here's another one just to kind of reduce your stress a bit, because I know everybody's stressing. Believe me, I know that. I know that. What I've got for you is, well, something special from CB Distillery. And you know what? You're probably tossing and turning over all that's going on. I understand it. I do too. You're not sleeping. You're not sleeping well. You wake up, you're exhausted. Your butt's kicked. Even though you supposedly got some sleep, everything feels harder. I want you to understand that's the system's plan. But this is where things can help you along so you stay focused. And one of them is CBD from CB Distillery, can make a real difference. It's not just sleep. CB Distillery has solutions that work with your body to help with stress, pain after exercise, even mood and focus. It's all made with the highest quality clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. Imagine waking up rested, enjoying your day without those nagging aches and pains. That's the real win of CB Distillery solutions. That's why over 2 million people use it. Got a code for you. Zap it on the screen. I love the roll-on painkiller. It's great. So if you're ready for better sleep, less stress, feeling good in your own skin, try CBD from CB Distillery. And right now, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit CB Distillery. Use promo code Jovan. That's cbdistillery.com. Promo code Jovan. cbdistillery.com. Try it. Try it now. One thing I try to do with my educational focus is give you better information. Just a point. If you're listening to social media, trying to gauge what's going on, all I ask you to do is consider the source and their background. I know in times like these, when the system's trying to confuse everybody, yes, you'll find people you like. Yes, you'll find people you trust. But just like going through the election stuff, people were listening about how we should run elections to a kid whose last job was at Taco Bell. I want you to think about that. Sometimes we can get enamored with people we like on social media talking to us about these things. But at some time, you have to consider what the person may really know. What is the person's skills and expertise? What is their background? Can they really help you assess what's going on? And I think in this world of social media, people don't do that. We talked about it the other day, right? Somebody was explaining to you how the Jews were killing America and killing the system. You never think about it. You look at the background of the person. Their immediate background is they were a bounty hunter. Their immediate background behind that is they were trying to be a rapper. Sometimes you have to think about these things, folks. And sometimes you have to look into people's backgrounds. We have it all over the place. People tell you, I'm a top tech CEO, but you can't find anything. Come on, folks. Our conservative social media has been doing the same thing, that mainstream media did. Just put people out there that they think you'll resonate with, and that's it. And you never question it. Yes, people can have wisdom, but if it's destabilizing your emotions, if it's destabilizing your life, if you're questioning the very foundation of what you believe because of it, accept some responsibility, dig deeper in yourself and check them out. Do they even have the credibility to be saying what they say? That's why you might not realize it, but that's why I don't watch other people's programs. You send me links. So you got to watch this guy talk about this. I don't do it. Do you know why I don't do it? Maybe because I'm a purist. I don't want to be influenced by others' opinions. I want to just give you what I think, what I found, what I researched on something that I know concerns people out there. But I don't look at even people I love dearly. I don't watch their programming. I don't. Because of the responsibility of my relationship with you. I want to basically bring to you, okay, here's what I found, here's what I researched, here's what you can expect, and here's how it works. And that's why I'm not a headline reader. And so I know right now some of you are suffering. You're suffering over, is Donald Trump bad or good? Think about that. That's kind of concerning. That's kind of concerning. That somebody could shake you that far to the core. But I also tell you this as we go forth today. The most humbling and horrifying thing I learned, and I've sat right there eyeball to eyeball with President Trump, is to realize the president doesn't have the power. A freaking county recorder in Maricopa County, Arizona has more power than the president of the United States. And isn't that sad? But yes, we've got to place it over the president. And that's what the system hopes. Versus how it really works and what we're really experiencing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring you some insight on this shutdown. To maybe help you, right? Maybe help you etc. And Roadkill, brother, if you want to come on and present your case, I welcome you. Just put it in chat. I'll send you a link and we can talk about it. I won't say you're suffering. You're a grown man. I understand that. But if you want to discuss it out in the open with all of us, we're family here. Let's hear it. What are you seeing? What are you thinking? Just so you understand, I'm talking to chat, right? Oh, man. That's the system's goal, to shift everything into chaos. You let me know. I'm going to run to open. It's about minute 40 seconds. If you want to, we're family here. Discuss it. Let's discuss it. Let's see. All your family and friends are here. Let's discuss it, how you're making that decision, and let's look at it honestly. I know a lot of people feel that way. I know that. I also see systems and people trying to do that, trying to spin it in. I understand. Okay, folks, share this program right now. We'll see where this goes. Okay? But we're all in this together, and we will get through it together. Let's get started.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to the program. We're going to be talking about the shutdown showdown. I want to give you a little bit of context just so you understand. This program that you participate in, if you're in chat and stuff and you attend here regularly, we're family and friends here. There's nothing passive about cutting the crap. Nothing. The dialogue you saw is one of our family members here, great warrior, has come to the point that they basically say, screw Trump. He's leading us off the edge. And when you hear that from family, it can be kind of shocking. But on my analytical side, I understand it. I understand it. I have these questions myself the whole time. Just trying to do battle over election integrity. It's disgusting. But then I understand it's not the man, it's the system. And when I look at it, you know, I can look President Trump directly in the eye. And he can tell the staff, you get with Jovan, you get this fixed right now. 4 times after the meeting when we're at dinner. And yes, they'll still kind of have perfunctory meetings and stuff. And then it can go a different direction. That's not the man. He's running the country. It's the system. The system's bad. The system's horrible. And many times, the system wants you to believe it comes down to the individual, and it does not come down to the individual. Lord knows I know that firsthand. Man, I can look the man in the eyes and see what's going on and him tell him, get after this, and then understand where things change because it's the system. I was so gullible when I came into this, fighting for my country. I was gullible. I was gullible because I thought I could show here's this X amount of horrible, nefarious maladministration, malfeasance leading to fraud crap. And everybody go, let's get on it and fix it. But that's not the way it works. In politics, it's the 3 monkeys. See no evil, hear no evil, whatever it is, speak no evil. It's crap. It's crap. It's total crap. Why is my program called crap? Because when you mix those things, culture, race, and American politics, it becomes crap. Therefore, roadkill. If you want to talk about it, because this has got to hurt. It's got to hurt when your heroes fail or whatever. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. There's nothing but love here, and we can all have different views. I did have somebody send me an email kind of being pissed at me and calling me names the other day because I muted them. Basically calling me thin-skinned or whatever. When I do something like that, I'm not making a decision about the individual, even though I muted them. I'm making a decision about the program and what's best for the program. And that's for the greater good, not the individual stuff. So those things aren't about individuals ever when they happen. It's about the program. It's not personal. It's about the program. And it doesn't mean I disagree with you. It just means when I say, hey, kind of stop and chat so we can focus, and you don't, then you're kind of thinking that chat's about you and it's your program and you get to do what you want. You don't. Period. I have to think of the whole family. Now, in that context of thinking of the whole family, and people say, well, you're suppressing free speech. Just out of a curiosity, in a program where you're a participant in chat and you're talking about dogs and the topic is thumbtacks, but you keep on harping about dogs, and I mute you, am I suppressing your free speech? No, I'm protecting everybody else on the topic that we're focusing on to learn. And I asked several times, but I have the right. I think the only way out of this that all of us are dealing with is truth and knowledge. There's no protest is not even a way out of any of this. Because if you look at the protest, they don't have any truth and knowledge behind the background. They're just protesting. They don't know what it is. Truth and knowledge, clarity. We don't have to have consensus, but we should work hard for clarity. Now, for this shutdown stuff, I want to try to provide for you some clarity. And if you think family and friends might benefit from it, rumble this, share it, get it out there. I'll give you some clarity. Okay? On, okay, what is this showdown? Right? Over the shutdown. I'll give you my opinion right up front. I never really bought into the 5D, but what is it up now to 600,000 D chess? Right? I never really bought into that. But I think what we're seeing at the moment is something that is a chess move. And when I analyze it, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. And you know what, Snuffy? Holy crap. God bless you. Holy smokes, holy smokes, holy smokes. Folks, you see that Q code up there in the top corner? That's for us protecting the Arizona Forensic Audit Archives. And look at that. Holy crap. God bless you, Snuffy. Thank you. That sure goes a long, long, long way to making sure we preserve the only prosecutable evidence there is of what they do to our elections. So God bless you. And thank you for blessing our program with that. Truly. Let's talk about government shutdowns, okay? Mr. Hader says, love you a long time. I love you a long time. Hader posted that in Rumble. I just added the characterization to it, and that was very generous. If we were to go back in time 60 years, do you remember how many government shutdowns we've been through? We're going to go back in time to understand what's going on this time. Do you remember how many government shutdowns we've had over 60 years? Do you remember what they were about? Do you remember how long they lasted, right? Well, the first one, and this is in my visible memory, I was, let's see, what would I have been? I would have been 11 years old or 10 or something like that. That was in 1976. It's so vivid in my mind. I was in the driveway. I think my stepmother had a Ford Fairlane or something like that. I had a piece of chalk. And I remembered on the tire, the black wall, writing 1976. I remember it plain as day. And then I remember it kind of hitting me like, holy smokes, our country's 200 years old. And of course, they were doing all this bicentennial stuff, but it just kind of hit me. Wow, 200 years old. That's awesome. Well, we had a government shutdown back then, Gerald Ford days, right? And it lasted for 11 days. 11 days is what it lasted for. Now, what it was over, this was a Republican issue. It was the Republicans who initiated. What it was over was, does a president have veto power to tell Congress to shut the hell up? And that in 1976. And you got to remember those times with Carter, coming later and everything else. We were in a world of hurt, right? Everything was kind of off the charts. Middle East really ruled our destiny because OPEC, not a single country that really loves us, decides the price of our oil, right? That's why I'm doing this show, so you understand the history. Hang on. I want one drink of my coffee before it's cold. But did the president have veto power? Did the president have lying veto power? Right? That was what the battle was for. And it lasted 11 days. In 1977, we had 3 in that year alone, in 1977. I got to say something. I just got a question. I dug the 70s. If you were alive then, regardless of your age, the 70s were a damn good time. Even with all the shit that was going on politically and all the turmoil, the 70s were really nice. And I'm not talking, like Summer of Love, that kind of. The 70s were really good. Kids could be freaking kids. Families were still families. Pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. Anyway, girls were simply beautiful, long straight hair. It was kind of easy. 70s music was great. And you're right. And then we got the 80s and we got parachute pants. But I digress. So 3 times in the 1970s, we had government shutdowns. Now, each one of those successively, 12 days shutdown, 12 days shutdown, 13 days shutdown. All of them were, Farrah Fawcett hair, among other things. Bo Derek, all this stuff, right? 3 shutdowns, 12 days, 13 days. It was a Democrat issue then, not a Republican issue. It was a Carter issue then. And what was the big dispute? What was the fight over that everybody was holding out for? Changed our life. Do you know what the fight was over? Funding, of course, abortion. That fight back then that shut us down 3 times was over funding abortion. Wasn't over the hostages. It was over abortion. Yeah, of course we had the hostages. It was over abortion and Democrats wanting to institutionalize it and say the government would pay for it. The next one, 1978. That one lasted 18 days. It was another Carter Democrat issue. And it was over budget disputes. Why? Because now they're rolling in, right? All these things they want to fund. Something Wrong posted up 1976. The average price of gold was $124.82. What's it today? 3,800? Anyway, in 1978, as it comes through 19, after 3 shutdowns, there was another shutdown in 78, lasted for 18 days. It was Carter, and it was, we want to fund this, we want to fund this. And Republicans say, hell no, we're not going to fund this. And then in 1979, under Carter, it happened again, another Democrat initiative, right? And it all had to do with budget disagreements. Those years in the 70s were what, in my mind, bought us big government. It paved the way for seriously huge government. And it also, it wasn't just about hostages in the Middle East, guys. I think that's really when we became even more hostages. When the system understood how much OPEC controls our lives, and they start, oh, well, hey, if you just kind of have this, if other people on the outside control your life, you can make America capitulate. That's where the scramble was. That's where the scramble was. I believe it paved the way. Folks, what we're watching is extortion. I want you to get real clear on this, because it became very clear to me. I had a discussion with a road crew yesterday. A road crew. And they were repairing roads that had been destroyed during Helene and stuff. And at the moment, they were, I guess, kind of on hiatus. And why? Because it's a government-funded project. And then I thought about that for a minute. You know, a lot of this big-ass spending that goes on, and why they keep it, you got to have health care, you got to have good roads. It made me think about this. Wow. You know, when you really think about it, when you got big old budgets to do certain things, they're actually putting a lot of blue collar workers to work. Can we agree on that? And these are hardworking, great people. Then I realized, wow, that's been weaponized, hasn't it? If you look at unions, another wonderful 1970s things that really sprung up, right? If you look at 70s, etc., what happened is they started expanding, and you get big budgets for government contracts, but the people actually fulfilling those government contracts are good red, white, and blue Americans. And then it kind of dawned on me yesterday, I realized all this funding stuff has actually been weaponized. Here's what I mean. You can know the system's broken. You can know Democrats are rat bastards and everything else, but you realize a lot of the funding they appropriate keeps you hostage. Why? Because you just can't afford to go without the paycheck and you don't want it stopped. So they actually groom us to enable it. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. This is all a massive extortion game, because it takes the most red, white, and blue of people, the American workers, doing big, bloated government jobs, that when it comes down to it, they'll vote to keep that funding going, even though it really does what the Democrats want it to do. It just became really clear as day to me what's going on. Anyway, 1979, that particular shutdown was 12 days. Okay, we evolved. We get into the Reagan era. The first Reagan one we had was in 1981. Okay. Again, it was a budget standoff. So this was a Republican issue. How long did it last? a few hours to a couple of days, and it was modifying. Very short. It was over budget standoff. Then in 1984, we had another one under Reagan. Another one. It was a Republican issue. What was it? Funding lapse. It lasted 4 hours. Then you look at 1986, again under Reagan, lasted 4 hours. Funding lapse. Now you begin to see a trend. It's kind of how much power can you wield to really control the system? And so you start seeing these really short give and take exchanges. Boom, 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 4 hours. You know, remember 76, 11 days, 77, 12 days, 12 days, 13 days, 78, 18 days, 79, 19 days, 12 days. And then you have them for a few hours, right? 1984, we got 4 hours. 1986, we got 4 hours, all over funding lapse. We got one in 1990. It was 3 days. That was Bush's and the fight, and it was a Republican issue. We got to bring this funding down. So they realized, and here's the pattern. Democrats use shutdowns to get more funding. Republicans are going, shutting down because we're running out of money. We're running out of money. So Democrats shot it through the roof, Republicans running out of money, but they capitulated really quick. Why? Because everybody's bitching. And if you're in power, you're gonna look like bad guys. So it only lasted a few hours. Really no reduction. And then, so George Bush had one in 86, 3 days. Again, trying to push through the deficit reduction, trying to drive it down. Something we used to pay attention to, but we don't now. Boy, I'd love the days where Congress is having a battle over $100 million bill instead of, oh yeah, we slipped in an extra 1.5 trillion last night. 1995, we had one during Clinton. It was 5 days, and it was, again, a Republican Congress budget fight. 1995 and 96, it went the same way it was Clinton, same way, fighting over money to get them back up. Republicans trying to get them back down. That particular one in 96 lasted 21 days. We had one in 2013. This was, 95, 6, and then 2013 were all Democrat issues. More money, print more money, more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. And in 2013, the issue was Obamacare. You're going to keep your insurance and it's going to be better. Right? So that was the fight for 16 days in 2013. And then in 2018 and 19, we had the longest battle we ever had. And that was to get funding for the border wall. That was Trump. It was Republican. And that battle was, we're putting in this wall to close down our country. Now, I gave you those, right? I gave you those because if you were to look at what it was over, it was, we need more money. We're out of money. We need more money. We're bleeding and you got to cut it back. We need more money. We've got to cut it back. You're bleeding. We need more money until you get to President Trump. And it was only over fund the border wall. I think when you look at it that way and you understand what the battle really was, you see a system fighting for more money and control. And you see a man saying, fix this for America because we can't keep on letting these illegals in. That's a prime example from 76 to Trump's first term, uniparty caring about themselves and a businessman getting in saying, screw you. Now, the reason I want to point out that is so materially important is because you have physical proof by deeds of what President Trump stands for versus what the system stands for. We're fighting the system now, folks. And the system has done everything they can to destroy the team, the person that would come in, right? To say, screw the system. All those other shutdowns. So now let's talk about time. The longest one ever, 35 days. For me, this is one of the most fortuitous things that could happen to us at this point in time. Right? Under the covers, I won't have the exact numbers right, but under the covers, the Dems right now want to drop in another $1.5 trillion. Isn't that like 30 billion a day or something like this? Totally ridiculous, right? They want to drop in another 1.5 trillion. And what they want to do is, as they don't care about our military, as they don't care about you, as they don't care about America, the ones they really want to fund are illegals. Make sure they have free health care. Because they'll use it. And that's how they're circulating money through the system. Straddling us with debt. That's where the current fight is right now. That's where the current fight is right now. Now, you need to understand cause and effect, rules of law, who has what power when, and what's coming down. If I was to look at the patterns before us, and by the way, in case you remember, we got the border wall. Of course, they ran in real quick to dismantle it. That tells you what the Dems were about. But we got the border wall. A visible, tangible, agreeable, measurable result of the money. If you go back and look at every fight, except one, it's been the system. One has been, we're going to get this fixed for the nation. Now we're come down to, again, the system's trying to do it again. The system is trying to use our collective money through debt on our backs to fund their agenda, not our agenda. Folks, go back and look it up yourself for 60 years. What was the fight over? Who was in power, etc. You got one in there that's about shut off this illegal crap. And we got it funded over a 35-day wait. And then through the crap in 2020, it reversed. And not only did they take the wall down, they got 25 million more illegals in. Do you understand? I think you can clearly see it's about bankrupting us and bleeding the system dry, which is the tactic. I've told you about that. So you have to look at what's power. Now, right now, you have a lot of people trying to tell you Trump is trying to push Putin's buttons, force Putin into the arms of China. I don't think that. If you saw Maxine Waters, the poster child for air gap, between her left ear and right ear, Maxine Waters basically said, we're for making sure everybody has health care. Everybody. And she said, because we don't want people to die. Well, it's BS. It's BS. Okay? And in this BS game, it's kind of hard and convoluted for me to try to see where the chess moves coming from. But when I examine the operational structure of the contract, now let me bring this to your attention. You can have people all day long say, we fix election by hand counting ballots. It kind of means nothing if we're still going to have drop boxes, still going to have mail-in, still going to have bank your vote, still going to have early vote, because you can't tell what is a legal ballot voted illegally. So it's really just pacification, right? You got to do stuff that sticks. Now, the reason I give that to you is every bit of that could be fixed. It could be fixed. It could be fixed with contracts. These states, these counties don't force their ballot printers to say how many you printed, how many you mailed, how many were distributed, how many we pay postage on, how many came back. They avoid those numbers. That's how they hide the overage. But see, that's a contract issue. It is so easily fixable, doesn't take legislation, doesn't take BS words, just takes a contract because those people have a contract with the state. That's why they don't want you to understand how to really fix it, because the system needs you to think you need them to fix it. You don't. 90% of our crap in elections can be fixed through contract law. Now, I compare and contrast that to you because when you see what went on during the Trump shutdown and now, I think you're seeing somebody who understands contract law trying to use actually contract law to get things done. And it can be, right? It's all a charade, folks. Every bit of this is a charade. Total charade. They trained you for the machines, and even if they switch to hand counting ballots, you can't tell what is illegal, what is a bad voter, what's bad on the voter rolls, what was bad in a drop box. You can't do it. But you think it's fixed. We got hand counting. Total crap. It's a show. So what does President Trump possibly have in his arsenal to deal with this? Now, there's a lot of legal complications at the moment. I think one of the best things that can happen to us, and I apologize if you are a government contracted employee, I really do. Okay? But anything with the government's risky. I would love to see this shutdown exceed 60 days. Now, I just gave you the history. 12 days, 18 days, 12, 13, 7, till we get to Trump, and it was 35. Here's why. If we have, and you saw, and that's why I gave you, you got to understand the context of history. When you understand how they played the game, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you can see as it ran up, then it became so many people were screaming, it only lasted a few hours. That's where we got into trouble. So personally, this one needs to exceed 60 days. Go for it. Stick to your freaking guns. Let me tell you why. Right now, you got to understand that the Democrats have promised the most progressive of their side. We got to keep funding illegals. We got to keep funding this. And they got all their little token bullshit things that destroy America. And so Schumer, little Chucky, used his option to blow it up because they're so used to using it as a hostage holding tool. Now, I want you to understand the psychology here for me, okay? I already explained to you that even when you're building big government projects and roads and building and all this stuff, it hurts good red, white, and blue Americans. That's what the system knows. And so even you, since it will be voting against your interest of the country, you will only be incented by that paycheck, and they're holding your paycheck hostage. And I want you to understand that. They're holding your paycheck hostage. That's what Schumer and them are doing. Now, it's double-sided. They promise these extreme things over here, which we don't want, and they're holding America hostage. Your essential services are going to kind of keep going on, law enforcement, air traffic control, postal, etc. Okay, the essential services. And so I want you to understand the battle is not over essential services. They'll tell you it is. But essential services are going to get paid and continue on. Oh, by the way, these lawmakers, their checks don't get suspended during this. Did you know that? They still get paid, expensed. Anyway, so the battle is not over essential services. It's not over hospital services. It's not over our transportation systems. It's not any of that. They'll gladly withhold it from our military. But from the government BS systems, they're not being withheld. So yes, everyday man gets hurt. But let me tell you the price. Right now, they're playing a game that enough people will bitch, I'm going to lose my job. Folks, I have family members in my extended family that work for the government. And they're freaking out. They're not going to get paid. Now, heretofore, the way the system has operated, during those shutdown, when nobody's getting paid, during their shutdown, right? The government people might not be getting paid, but as soon as they come back, they immediately get paid. So it's kind of like a free get a free vacation job. You're just on vacation, you're still going to get paid. Okay? That's kind of how this battle's fought. And so you understand what they're really doing is they're holding red, white, and blue America hostage. It's part of keeping you down because they know that enough people will scream. S2, thank you so very much. And you're right. Elected officials should not get paid if they can't fix or pass the budget. Because why? They're not doing their job. They should not get paid. And I know some of you work for the federal government, but hear me out just a bit. All essential systems are going to continue to work. Here are the things that President Trump has at his disposal, which will begin, sorry, I got something itching on my arm, which will begin to come into play. The first one is called the Anti-Deficiency Act. Anti-Deficiency Act. This is the central law that comes into effect and governs how agencies operate if there's no funding. Now, the law says if Congress has not authorized money, and I'm taking off my jacket because I got something biting on my arm. What the hell is that? Anyway, they're sending nanobugs to me. Anyway, under this act, it prohibits Congress from spending money that has not been authorized. Through this Anti-Deficiency Act, all that can really be spent or is accepted is, right, the functions that are essential for life protection of property or constitutionally mandated duties. Now, they will continue during a shutdown. Now, there's not really any new things granted during a shutdown that can really be enacted. But there's an interesting catch. Legal experts will say, well, the president can't just unilaterally terminate people, right? Unless Congress does the cuts. That's quasi-right. What will come into effect is RIFs, reduction in force. Okay, RIF. And the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, will tell all agencies to start issuing RIFs. And that's some sort of 60-day plan that you're going to be out of a job in 60 days. Because if we can't fix this in 60 days, you're just out of a job. Now, right now, all kinds of, what did I tell you we got in the 70s really big? Labor unions. The labor unions are suing. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. Why are they suing? Because they got people in the unions and they get a piece of all their hourly pay. Of course they're suing. But it was just a way to move people en masse. Now, when you understand those laws and you understand the timeline that has to be tripped, that's why I say, if this can go past 60 days, something pretty magical is going to happen. And I apologize to everybody if you are a government employee. Okay? So the Trump administration has directed the agencies, get ready to start dismissing people. Now, that's an instruction, that's standard operating procedure, but they can't actually 100% force it, meaning execute on it yet. Right now, layoff notices are going all across the government. By the way, the first one hit, Patent and Trademark Office. And of course, all those guys are suing it. Okay. Now, all of these are subject to revision if we get to a budget deal. So they can't really legally terminate people. But if it gets past that 60 days and that notice is given, which the government's Trump administration's rapidly sending out right now, then all bets are off. It doesn't matter. They will be legally terminated. Now, remember I told you essential services keep on going? Where do most of the illegal termination or the legal terminations now come? All the fluff projects. If we can actually have this last 60 days, you will effectively have handed to President Trump the ability to can all the freaking people he knows caused the Doge findings, and they will be gone. I want to say that again. Remember how the system fought to leave all of those dead people on Social Security, all of that fat? They're just protecting the bullshit fat. But if our president and side has the testicular fortitude to have this go past 60 days and stand strong, it will hand to President Trump and team the ability to wipe out all the BS bloat legally, and it cannot be challenged. Freaking versatile. Now, do you understand what's at risk? That's why I gave you the history first. That's how they find muck all of us. You're going to be outside. You're going to be outside. You're not going to have an ambulance. You're not going to have firemen. BS. 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 And dang it, it's what needs to happen. Now, here's the blessing in disguise. We right now, quote unquote, as conservatives, okay, and I know there's still lots contracted out there outside through non-governmental organizations, contractors. A large part of that's going to go away. It's just going to go away. It's going to be over, right? It's just going to be over. This is going to come down to our testicular fortitude. Will they push something through in December? Maybe. But you have to understand cause and effect. If we as a nation can stand strong, right, on this issue, and it goes past 60 days, and now the lawfare is over and we make it so, you're going to see such the incredible cleansing that couldn't be done otherwise. But that takes us supporting President Trump, which means we start harping now. It's not about the shutdown. Go the distance. Go the distance. Because then the Dems won't have any recourse. Now, what if that happens? Right? This is where it's a double bat to the head for the bad guys. If little Chucky comes back and says, okay, we're sorry, we'll agree to these things, the extremist base that is trying to kill America will turn on the Democrat Party. Because those extremists want blood. They want suffering. And because they don't really understand how the system works, they're going to think they're winning. And if Chucky Schumer and crew capitulate fast, you're going to see a fracture in the Democrat Party. And they are going to turn on them like they have rabies. Right? Like they have rabies. Like all the fluff in Health and Human Services, all that crap, stick this out, over 40% of that will go away. So you got to understand this appropriated money that they appropriate is actually, for me, buying voters. Why? They expand the big divisions, give everybody jobs. Nobody really does anything. 12 people's working while an illegal fixes the whole. But see, it supports all those people. Those people are going to vote with their pocketbook instead of what America has to do. That's the whole gig. It is an extortion gig. It is an optical, psychological warfare extortion gig. This one can drive a massive spike into the vampiric heart of the left. If we have the ability to support our president and stand with him no matter how hard this hurts. But I want you to understand it affects the non-essential stuff first, by far. That's the people studying one-eyed, purple-horned lesbian toads and its effect on Afghanistan children. That stuff. The fat, the bloat. Those are just bought voters. And primarily, if you were to look at the Democrat Party, all they have ever done is bought voters. That's it. Even though they were the ones that enslaved people, and the Republicans were the ones that got rid of slavery, they started enslaving them by giving them things. Because when they give them things and give them money and put them on the tit, they know they're going to get the vote because people are going to vote for the tit. That's the racket. The Democrat Party has always bought its votes. They're not voting. How does Maxine Waters stay in dumber than a freaking stump, because their voters just want the monthly check they get. And that's why fortitude is what we have to have. That's why we have to understand what this is, because all of those, even big bloat government jobs, that's just buying voters, because they're going to vote to keep their job where they don't do shit. That's the con. And if we can stick to this, it will be a glorious cleanup. But that's why the system has to get people on the payroll, force them to live paycheck to paycheck, because people will vote, I got to eat, and don't realize it keeps the bullshit parties in power. We're all still slaves. Democrats just switched the form of slavery and realize we get what we want by just controlling their vote. And that's it, folks. And if you go back and to understand how the Democrat Party enslaved people of color and then people of orientations and introduced the hyphen system and introduced African American, which is where we got it, they switched to a new one, refreshing their crops, it's illegals, and handing them checks. Here you go, here's your free stuff. And they know they vote. Just like that school administrator in Iowa who finally got outed, whose whole background is fake, but was running the school districts in Iowa, and you find out they voted every year. Yes, that's what it is. They're buying votes, and that's how they buy them. And this is going to have to take our support. I know it sounds weird, but man, I hope this goes the distance, because it will crush the scam. It will crush the bleeding of funds that have us all trapped. It'll break the systems. And I want to remind you, because so many people don't really realize when we win, when Doge found USAID money and it could be immediately clawed back, go back and look at how many news anchors instantly lost their jobs. Because, see, they were paying for it all the time to keep those people on the air. That's the racket. And this is where we have to have testicular fortitude. This is where we have to understand what's up. We have to understand how the game's played. I always tell you my job is to make you the smartest patriot in the room. Because if you don't know how they do it to you, you don't know how to fix it. And I even told you a long time ago, they'll give you a bad guy. They'll give you Soros. And then what'd you find out? Which I told you long ago, wasn't even his money. It was USAID money, and that's how they used it against us. That's the deal, folks. I'm calling for a hashtag, go the distance, to show President Trump and our lawmakers, go the distance. It's going to hurt a lot of people. You're going to see a lot of complaining. You're going to see a lot of complaining. And good people, good, honest people, will get hurt temporarily. But the net effect is we can finally swing the hammer to cut a lot of this fat out. And that's why I always tell you it's about you. 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 And if you can stand up and push, go the distance, let the president team know we're with you, go the distance. It's going to hurt. Go the distance. And the only capitulation is if we get everything we want and everything cut and say, okay, we'll agree with you on budget, but you're going to cut all this shit for us to do it. Now's the time to play hardball. Go the distance. Go the distance. America's worth it, but it's going to take you to make it happen. It is. It's going to take you to fight. And it's as simple as a hashtag. I love you all. Share this.
We've got all the right in the world on our side, and there ain't no reason to be afraid. And there ain't no reason to not take the challenge dead on, because I'm going to tell you who we come from, folks. We don't come from some weak, jellyback, spineless people. That's not who we come from. None of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what nation your folks hail from, how much money you got. We all share the same name. We are Americans. And at Bunker Hill, there was Americans. And at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg, there was Americans. And at Iwo Jima, raising that flag on Suribachi, it was Americans. And at Pork Chop Hill, there was Americans. Quezon, there was Americans. And on 9/11, there was Americans who ran towards those burning buildings. That is who you share your heritage with. You do not share your heritage with a weak and ineffective people who cower at the sight of trouble. You share your heritage with a strong and brave people who are determined to hold on to their freedom and for the freedom of future generations. Guys, it's time for us to stand up and be that generation. It's time for us to stand strong and proud and remember who we are. That we are Americans. And as long as we stand as the vanguard of freedom in this nation, freedom will survive people. Not only survive, it will thrive. So guys, it's time to put on our packs. It's time to fix those bayonets. It's time to get ready. We got a fight on our hands. And our fight is not for us. For all those generations that's going to come behind us. Let's save America, folks.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness,